Hi and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. We're live today. Welcome along to the show, and I hope you guys enjoyed the game yesterday. Arsenal playing Millwall behind closed doors yesterday, beating them by 4-1. It was a very impressive performance by Arsenal in this friendly, which was played at London Coney. Of course, they were today supposed to be playing in Florida against Inter Milan. So Millwall not quite Inter Milan, but I'll tell you what, Millwall, they gave a fight in the game, but Arsenal very impressive. 4 goals scored by Pepe, Chambers, Lacazette got one as well, and also a nice goal at the end for Balogun as well. Some good performances. I thought Pepe was very good in the game. Thomas Partey, I was very impressed with, and I think big season ahead for him. He looks fit, he looks strong. Like what I saw of him. Nice little debut for Sambi Lokonga. Looked very comfortable on the ball. All right, he wasn't put under loads and loads of pressure and pressing, but looked comfortable on the ball. Looked a decent player. First game, so we're not going to get carried away. And some nice goals, as I said. I thought Aubameyang looked better in the game. Still didn't score, but he had this wonderful overhead kick that hit the bar that led to the first goal. And he looked sharp. And just, yeah, in general, lots of positives to take, although the goal we conceded right at the end, again, Arsenal, that sort of set piece. It wasn't exactly a set piece, but it was sort of the second phase from a set piece. And again, Arsenal not really dealing with that aerial threat. So that's something we've really got to work on throughout this whole period of warm-up games. But it's a warm-up, and good to get a win after a defeat and a draw in the first 2 games. So good performances, and I was very impressed in the game by Alexander Lacazette. I thought he played very, very well. Scored a goal, as I said, and looked very, very sharp. He has so far in pre-season, but will he still be here come the end of pre-season? Because the talk is, and we've spoken about this a few times on the show, that he could be leaving this summer. There's rumors persisting that Arsenal have made it known that they're willing to sell Lacazette to a suitor if they get a good deal. They want to get him off the wage bill. He's on quite high wages of reportedly around about £180,000 a week. He's only got 1 year left on his deal, and it's come to that critical situation. Either we sign a new deal with him, give him a contract extension, or we let him go and try and get some money for him. Now, as I said, the talk is that Arsenal want to get him off the wage bill, and he's on these high wages. And there's even rumours that Arsenal will be willing to accept around about £15 million for Lacazette, which doesn't seem like a lot. Now, he was our top goal scorer last season. And as I said, in pre-season so far, he's looked very, very sharp. And I'm just wondering is this the right move to take in getting rid of Lacazette? I don't know. I really want to hear from you guys today. The replacement will probably be Tammy Abraham. He's the one that's the lot of talk is seemed to be going around. We're still hearing that Chelsea want about 40 million for him. No chance they're going to get that, but they may be willing to do a loan with an option to buy of around about 30 million. He's young. I've always liked Tammy Abraham. I always think he's a good player. All right, he's not the finished article. He could be more clinical, but he is a good player, and he is a threat up front, and he's got experience. He's played, played like literally a full season for Chelsea, in which he did well. That previous to Tuchel coming in, he's also did very well and being on loan at Swansea and Villa. A good player who's getting better and better. He was in the England squad. All right, he wasn't in there for the Euros, but a good player. But is he better than Lacazette? Is it? I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you guys on this one. Would you get rid of him now and bring in Tammy Abrahams, or would you keep Lacazette? Again, one of the things that Mikel Arteta has spoken about is experience. great to bring in loads of young players, but it's good to have some experienced heads in there. And I think that Lacazette is a bit of a leader on the pitch. He always gives 110%. You know, he always works his socks off. I don't know. I'm torn on this one because, as I said, Tammy Abrahams I like, but Lacazette looks like he's a good guy in the dressing room. If we're losing guys like Xhaka as well, do we lose that amount of experience in one transfer window? Love to hear from you guys on it in the comments today. Joaquin Correa is another player that's been linked with Arsenal. Plays for, well, where that Udinese came from. He plays for Lazio. Now, there's a reported fee of around about 17 million that they're looking for the 26-year-old. He's more of he's a forward player, more of a winger, really. He scored 8 goals and 3 assists last season. Arsenal said to be interested in him as well as Tottenham. Does look like he will be on the move. But again, is that a type of player that we need right now? A sort of wide player? I think we've got enough of those. Pepe's looking really good. We've got Saka to come back. You know, there's so many players that can play out wide. There's Martinelli to come back and can play wide. Is that what we really need now? But he's being linked with us. And what's going to happen with Joe Willock? Noticeably, he didn't actually come on yesterday. Now, was that just because, I don't know, you know, the manager wasn't really looking to play him in the game, or is there something significant in that? We know that Newcastle, you know, Steve Bruce has made it very clear it's their #1 target this summer. That's the guy who they want to sign. They want to bring him in. He said the other day, we're waiting on Arsenal. I think he said again that, you know, we want to bring him in. We want to get him, but, you know, it's up to Arsenal. We're waiting on their decision. So it seems like maybe Arsenal haven't made a clear decision yet on Joe Willock. Now, will they cash in on Willock? You know, we've seen some of these big targets that Arsenal are being linked with. They're going to cost a lot of money. And contrary to the 250 million available and the 100 million, I just don't see it. I think players have to be sold. Money has to be made before these type of signings could be made. So would you sacrifice Willock, or should we keep him after he had such a good loan move to Newcastle? And then I'm hearing that it could be another loan to Newcastle for a year. That's a surprising one again. I just wouldn't understand that if that's what we did. But that persists. The Aaron Ramsdale one persists. 30 million. Arsenal said to be prepared to offer. There was a talk last week that they'd already offered it, but I don't. From what I'm hearing, they haven't offered that. But they are very interested in him. We can see from even yesterday's game that we need a goalkeeper. The 2 goalkeepers that we had are rookies. We need a proper goalkeeper in there between the sticks. Of course, Leno's coming back, but somebody who's going to give him some serious competition. Or would he come in as the number 1? Again, you've heard my thoughts on it many a times. I don't see Ramsdale as a number 1. And do you spend 30 million pounds on a number 2? Again, I just look at it and I say, if they bought him in, surely he's not coming in to be a number 2. Surely he's coming in to be a number 1. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with the Ramsdale thing. It's really strange because we seem to be targeting some players that the fans universally are like, what? Are you sure? But Arteta, Edu, they got their mindset, they've done their research, and they think he could be the one. Let's wait and see how that one turns out. And what about Denis Zakaria? Now, the Borussia Mönchengladbach midfielder, defensive midfielder, has apparently told Borussia Mönchengladbach that he wants to leave the club. As a matter of fact, it's been confirmed by the boss of Mönchengladbach that Zakaria doesn't want to sign a new deal and that he does want to leave the club. The Swiss international played in the Euros, defensive midfielder, very, very highly rated. And there's lots of rumors that Arsenal could move for him. We know that is what we need, a defensive midfielder. We need somebody. We just need to sort the spine out of this team. And if Xhaka is going, could this be a replacement for Xhaka, one of his countrymen? So again, another one to keep our eyes on. Zakaria, he's come up a few times on the Arsenal radar, has been spoken about a couple of times, but again, being heavily linked with a move today. And I think a player that's going to get announced is Ben White. Ben White apparently is doing a medical today at Arsenal, back from his holidays now, and is set to be announced early next week as an Arsenal player. £50 million. I was picking up a lot of banter yesterday. I was out picking up a lot of banter from Liverpool fans telling me how much cheaper Canute was. I've been picking up banter from United fans. Everybody saying £50 million for Ben White. We're going to get Varane for the same. It's an English tax on it, but listen, this is a big gamble by Mikel Arteta. There's probably going to be the biggest outlay of the summer. Wow, it's going to happen this week. Big gamble, but he is very highly rated, and Mikel Arteta will be pinning a lot of hopes on him coming in, hitting the ground running, and doing really, really well for Arsenal. But set to be announced this week. Let's get into some of your comments because I'm really interested to hear from you guys today. Ale says, Robbie, Ramsdale's not as bad. Not 30 million worth. Yes, not better than Martinez. Yes, but he would give Leno some competition like Henderson and De Gea. £30 million for competition, I think, is too much. When there's goalkeepers like a Sam Johnson, for instance, who'd be about half that price, still only 28, I think is better than Ramsdale, that would also give competition. I just don't. Not for me. Not for me. Suleiman says, buy Renato Sanchez. I'd be up for that. I'd be up for the Renato Sanchez. If we bought him in, we're still said to be interested in him, but there's been no moves for him yet. Maybe it could be a late move in the window. Noah says, honestly, I don't see Maddison deal happening. My prediction is Basuma and Aouar. We already have ESR. Listen, if we got those two, again, I'll take that. I'll take that right now because those are two areas that we need to fix. So I would take that right now. Cap says Sabitzer, Neves, and Basuma. Not bad again. Wouldn't be against that. Samuel says Lacazette isn't bad. Top scorer last season and has shown in decisive moments for us. I don't think Tammy is going to be better than him. We're going to start the season with the same player we ended with. I look on that Lacazette one and I'm like, is Tammy Abraham better? I keep saying this. I want players that are better than what we've got. Tammy Abraham is good. I rate him, but is he better than Lacazette right now? I don't think so. I don't think he is. This guy says Basuma and Aouar is a must. A couple of super chats here. Gunner at 1886 says, good morning, Robbie. Much love, brother. Do you have any news on Maddison? For me, that's a must sign in. What's your thoughts on Aouar? Now, for me, on Aouar would be a good signing, but from what I spoke to Fabrizio Romano on Thursday over on the Don Robbie channel, he's saying to me that Aouar wants Champions League football, and that is one of the stumbling blocks in getting him over to Arsenal. And that's why Arsenal have gone cold on it. And of course, Maddison would be a great signing. I think there's a lot in that, but if that does happen, that's gonna take time. It's not gonna be a deal that gets done over a couple of weeks. Mark T says, Tammy, really? Mark T with another super chat. He says, why are we downgrading ourselves when we have a quality player in Lacazette? Let's not forget Laka holding down play. Can Tammy do that? I think he means hold up play. Tammy Abrahams can hold up play. He can hold up play. But Lacazette does it just as good, if not better. Udan Patel says, Don Robbie, when are we going to see the Euros forfeit? Oh, yeah. Jeez. Of course. You're right. We got to sort that out. We got to sort that out. Big up Ernest Man as well. Sean says, what's happening with the Basuma deal, Robbie? Of course, it's gone quiet. I mean, at the start of the window, it seemed to be the number one target, what we was talking about, and then it's gone all quiet on that. Jack Burgess says, Abraham, not Abrahams. You are right. I keep saying that, Abrahams. It's just like, but it's Tammy Abraham. So thank you, Jack Burgess. You are correct. And where's it gone? There was this. That's a good one. Patrick says, why not go for Sommer? He's been great for Switzerland and Gladbach, much better than Ramsey. Agreed. And I'm sure he'd be cheaper as well. I just don't see the Ramsdale one. I really don't. They're seeing something that I don't know. This guy, because I find it difficult to pronounce his name, but big him up there. He says Tammy with Lacazette suck like exchanging goal for Swarovski. Again, he's not in for the Tammy Abraham signing, but this guy here, Chop Archive, says Tammy is a baller. Tammy Abraham's, I think, is a bit of an underrated player. I do think he is a good player. Barry says, will Ben White be announced today, Robbie? I'm hearing it's not today. It could be tomorrow, but you never know. It could be today. I don't know, but what I excuse me, what I heard he's doing a medical today. So I'd be surprised if it was announced today. Michael says Lacazette isn't clinical enough. Let's get someone fresh and new. I'm supporting the Abraham move. Abraham isn't super clinical either, though. Michael, is he more clinical than Lacazette? I don't think he is. If you know, so that's what I'm saying. So is it better? Sanchez calls him Tammy Welbeck. I see a lot of similarities there. Tammy Abraham's still very young, though, remember. Very young player. He's got lots of improvements to make, but he is a good player. Ains109 says, I'm not ready to see Laka go, but if we renew his contract, then we will never sell him for a decent price. But it's probably also too late to get a better replacement. Yet again, we've left it too late. Well, what they could do with, and you see it happen in a lot of these cases, Ains, right, is you don't renew like a long term. You don't say, right, new 5-year, 3-year contract. It's like add a year on. Contract extension for a year, try and get him to lower his wages a bit, bring it down, keep him for another year. And then that gives you time to have a look around and really see who's going to be that next big striker to bring in. Because I feel like if they kind of left it, if they gave him an extension, you've then got, you know, at the end of next year, you probably then be looking at replacing him and Aubameyang. And then you can look for that next big striker. But I don't know. I don't know. To me, a contract extension, Tammy Abraham. So I guess, you know, if it's a loan with an option to buy, that might be very attractive to Arsenal. Matthew says, I don't agree with the Ramsdale, but it's reported 80 million on Sky today for Ramsdale. If it was 18 million, fair enough. But all the reports have been saying 30 million. I don't think they're going to take 80 million for a player. That's what they bought him for. They're not going to sell him for that, Sheffield United, or they're going to keep him if that's the case. Why would you sell him for the same money? Nah, so no, it's definitely going to be way more than that. Jeremy Sawes Lynch says, Tammy is a menace to football. He plays like he's wearing Levi's and Timberlands. He's 23. So at this point, you should be able to say we're getting a player that is semi-proven. 23 is still a young player, still young for a striker. And listen, as I said, I think he's a good player. I really do think he gets, he doesn't get the ratings that he deserves. I think he's a good player, but he's nowhere near the finish out article. And he's got a long way to go. Panache says, I like Tammy. I'll take Tammy over Lacazette right now. Okay, there's a vote there for Tammy Abrahams. This guy says, we'll probably sell Willock for 5 million to Newcastle, then sign Danny Drinkwater for 40 million. Edu is clueless. Listen, if they do, I don't even think Newcastle got the money to buy him for what Arsenal want. They just, you know, they're not going to fork out 30 million, are they? And if it's just another loan for a year, then keep him. That'd be a waste of time for me. Samuel says, would you do a St. Maximin swap for Willock with 17 million? In my opinion, Newcastle will have to think about it. Another question, does Laka even want to sign a new contract? Well, we don't know that. I would think that Lacazette would be happy. I think one of the other problems that Arsenal have got, by the way, I would do St. Maximin. I love him as a player. So if it was a swap deal with St. Maximin, I don't know about plus 17 million. No, that's just have to be a straight swap. But yeah, I think just going back to the Lacazette one, I think Arsenal as well are having, one of the reasons why they do it for about 50 million, which seems to be quite low for a player like Lacazette, is that, no club out there is really willing to meet those wages right now that Lacazette is on. It's a tough time for a lot of clubs. Funk Mastered says Lacazette had better GPs than Kane last season. That's a fact. That is actually true. I heard them saying it when I was watching the game yesterday that, he did. Listen, and he I think when he got injured, I think had he have not got injured, I think he would have got over 20 goals for the season. That has been one of the criticisms leveled at him, that he doesn't sort of get that 20 goal a season mark. But I like him, and I think he's a good team player, and a lot of things go around him. Connor says, why do Arsenal take so long to do anything? If they made you a cuppa, it would be cold when it got to you. Yes, the transfer window. Listen, everybody's taking a long time in the transfer window. It's not your normal transfer window because of the pandemic, should I say. Pratik says Tammy is better because he will give us a better aerial threat, which we lack in abundance. All the players now we have will take us forward and keep the ball rolling. Unlike Xhaka, Holding, Bellerin, Tammy will act like Giroud. He's not really. I don't know. When I've seen Tammy Abraham play, he's not super duper domineering in the air. Even though he's such a tall guy, he's not known for his, I mean, they'd be, if they bring Chelsea, they bring Giroud off the bench. He's brilliant in the air. Tammy Abrahams is decent in the air, but I wouldn't say that's his major. I think it's the fact that he's like quick, strong, decent finisher, decent in the air. But I think that's the area he needs to improve when you consider his height. Tenzin says, better get Balletti than sign Tammy, a leader, strong in the air as well. Yakov says Abraham is young and so it's really worth buying him. He's not like the other Chelsea signings and he's from South Africa. You're right there. It's not, it's not like some of those other signings that we've made from Chelsea, the Willie Hands and all these old guys. You know what I mean? It would represent a younger signing. Still be a reject though. Still be a player that they don't want no more. Sajay 24S, sorry, says I'd rather buy Danny Ings if Lacazette leaves. Danny Ings again, he's available. Again, a goal scorer. The only thing I'd say with Danny Ings is the injuries, an injury-prone player. We saw what happened when he went to Liverpool. Or his injury record's been better at Southampton, but not sure. That injury record would worry me. BW88 says Ramsdale, no. Johnson is good. There is a keeper at Villa. His name is Emi Martinez. Very good keeper. What a huge error we made in selling Emi Martinez. What a massive, massive mistake that is proven to be. Ezel Arsenal says, why is everyone talking about sell-on price for the players we buy? The best and big teams sign players to get the quality, not the sell-on value. Did big teams sell their best players in years? We are the Arsenal. You make a very good point there, Ezel. I think you do, though, have to consider that sometimes when you're buying a player. You buy a player and you're buying that player for him to come in and do a job and to be real top quality. But you're also buying that player and thinking, well, if it doesn't quite work out, he's young, we could still make our money back. That element does come into it, whether we like it or not. Maybe it's a sort of modern day thinking, but that does come into it a lot. Or you can get stuck with players that you just cannot get rid of because you paid way over the odds. And if you want to find out more about that, go and see Barcelona right now with all those players they've got that they can't get rid of. Your Ousmane Dembele's and your Philip Coutinho's and, Pjanic and all these guys that they've wasted big money and big wages on. So it is something that you have to consider. Trorsik says, Robbie, would you keep Nketiah instead of buying Tammy Abrahams? No. Eddie Nketiah's a player I would sell this summer. And, you know, I think he's had a lot of chances. He just hasn't, even yet in yesterday's game, again, he had a header, open goal, really, and headed it straight over the bar. Love his work rate, love his effort. He's closing down, he's second to none, but he's just not clinical enough. I just feel that we need a more clinical striker than Eddie Nketiah. And I get the feeling he will go. Matthew says, I would like Aarons, Anana, Awar, Basuma. I would like a striker like Edouard from Celtic, proven goal scorer and a different profile. But then Edouard is not better to me than Tammy Abrahams. And Tammy Abrahams has done it at a better level, you know. Lord's official says, I think El Neni only improved under Arteta by scoring more goals last season. I agree he cannot be a first-team player, but he's a great backup trying to prove himself. Your opinion? Yes, he looked good in the game yesterday, very comfortable on the ball. To me, a backup player is how I see Mohamed El Neni. A reliable player. Every team needs that reliable player that you know is going to give everything for you out on the pitch. But long-term, no, if a good offer came in for him, I'd take it. Been here a long time. Katie says, the moment they gave the number 10 to Emil Smith-Rowe, it doesn't look like we're getting Maddison or Award. Listen, I spoke about this yesterday. I don't think you can look on that at all. It's a number on a bloody shirt, you know. And Maddison's already said he doesn't mind playing in different positions rather than he says he doesn't even know if he's a number 10. It's a number. Maybe it was promised to Smith-Rowe to get him to, you know, sweeten the deal, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you go out there to get certain players, they're coming. Don't worry about no numbers. I think he's only sort of a Cristiano Ronaldo or somebody like that who demand a number, you know. Mustafa Ahmed says, remember when I said Buendia will cost 150 million in the previous window, sold for 38 million. In my opinion, I feel Arsenal would have been too big a jump for him. Well, apparently I was chatting to a friend of mine who's a Villa fan, who said that he looked very good the other day in pre-season, and they're getting very excited about him. I'm hoping that that's not something that we have messed up again and missed out on. Noah says, in my opinion, keep Lacazette and Aubameyang with Balogun as backup and bringing a baller in a year or two. Don't forget, we've got Martinez as well. Martinelli as well. Emmanuel says, watching from Staten Island, New York, we need a creative midfielder. We're just wasting time. We definitely do. Timothy says, unpopular opinion, sell Aubameyang, keep Lacazette and buy Abraham. Not for me. As I said, Aubameyang, as I said yesterday, that overhead, if that had gone in, I bet nobody would be saying that today. He hit the bar with it. But he looked a lot sharper yesterday. Was very creative as well yesterday. I thought he had a decent game, Aubameyang, yesterday. Simon says, I don't want to see Laka go. In my opinion, one of the best attackers in the Prem. Edu needs to get rid of the other players. We take so long to do anything. Who are the players you think Arsenal got to get rid of? Well, we've been through that many a times. There's loads. There's your Kolasinacs. Bellerin, was that significant that he didn't play yesterday? What's going to happen with Ainsley Maitland-Niles? There's still Lucas Torreira, is still an Arsenal player. You've forgotten about him. All these guys, you know. Is it time to cash in on Reece Nelson? Lot of players there that, you know, I think the squad needs to be, you know, trimmed. And quite a few players there that I think even need to just need to be moved on, I think, this summer. So yeah, there's a lot of players that need to either, you know, some can go out on loan, but as others we need to sell. Miller 17 says, why are we leaving it late to sign an attacking midfielder? 3 weeks till the season begins. What are we doing? I think, you know, they're obviously having problems in signing an attacking midfielder. Let's not forget the first signing we tried to make was an attacking midfielder, which was Buendia. And we didn't get the job done. And then since then, we haven't moved in for anyone. Now, is it because that target is Maddison and they know that that's going to... Maddison, if that happens, I see that as a last-minute deal. I see that as one of those going near to the window and biddings going back and forth. It was also significant that Fabrizio Romano was saying to me in the interview I did with him over on the Don Robbie channel that next week, the next couple weeks, he was saying, are going to be very significant in the transfer window. He feels there's going to be a lot of going back and forth as the season approaches its beginning. So let's keep an eye and see if there's any more movement on that. Romario says, sell Bellerin fast and buy Aarons or Tavernier as soon as possible. Big respect to Robbie. Trausic says, can we buy Emmy back? There's no chance that they give us him back. Chicken Drumstick says, I'll take Calvert-Lewin over Tammy Abraham. So we were linked with Calvert-Lewin right at the start of the window. They're very similar. They're very similar players. GG, apart from Calvert-Lewin, a lot better in the air. He is fantastic in the air. GGTV for you says, why are we linked with Dennis Zakaria? He can't even get into the Swiss national squad over Xhaka. So is he better? I don't think so. Leo says, I think Ainsley and Nelson are a good fit for Brentford, actually. I think those two are going to be moving on. I really do. I'll be very surprised if those two players are still here come the end of the transfer window. I definitely think that they're going to be moving. Noah says, a bit worried about getting a new right back this window. Should I be? To be fair, Chambers was great yesterday. He was great yesterday. There's Cedric as well. I still think we need a dynamic right back, but it's not as essential. For me, the most important thing is that midfield area, defensive midfield, attacking creative midfielder. Those two. Do those two first. If we've got any money left, then a right back. And then we need a backup goalkeeper. We've seen that. We need a backup goalkeeper. But Ramsdale, unless we got him cheap, I'm not for that. Maybe I'll beat Sam Johnson as a number 2. That'd be a good signing, I think. But it's not me in charge. It's not you in charge. It's Edu. It's Mikel Arteta. Mark Arthur C. Phillips says, why don't we get more players from Real Madrid and Barca? We should go for Neto. Of course, Neto is available. And Martin Odegaard. Well, Odegaard's not available. I think if Odegaard was available, you'd see Arsenal in for him right now. They'd love to get Odegaard back. Mikel Arteta was a big fan. So, yeah. Santos says, Robbie, would you keep Torreira? I wouldn't, even though I've liked Torreira and I really wanted to. He's obviously not a fit at Arsenal. He's obviously not happy at Arsenal. I think it's time to cash in. KD says, and we're not going to be able to get the money we pay for him, by the way. He says, Robbie, our academy has been buying young, promising players. Don't see why we are going in for Tammy instead of promoting players like Balogun, Mola, Keon, and Armani. Well, are they ready yet? They have to be ready. You can't just say he's there in the academy, in they come. It's a big step, as we've seen with a couple of the goalkeepers. It's a big step. Ernest says, keep Lacazette, sell Eddie, sort out the midfield, and bring back Penna. He's been funny. And was this one here? Oz F says, Robbie's a super chat. He says, Robbie, sorry for the unrelated question. What is the best way for an American visiting London to get tickets for the home opener against Chelsea? I want to go to the game, but I don't know how. If you go onto Arsenal's website, they're selling tickets right now. And I think there are tickets left. So just go onto Arsenal's website, buy the tickets, and yeah, you'll be at the game. Simple as that. It's not normally that simple when there's matches on, but I think get on there fast. But there are tickets still available. They were announcing them. They were promoting it yesterday. Grant McRoberts says Odegaard is bang average and overrated. He did nothing but have one good game at Arsenal. Grant, sorry. No, I disagree with you. I was impressed with Odegaard. I would like to see Martin Odegaard at Arsenal. That would solve that problem. I would be cool with that. I really would. And I think as a player, I look at players as well and think, are they going to get better? I look at somebody like Odegaard. I'm like, That's a guy that had a good 6 months at Arsenal. And if he was here in the long term, will get better and better and better. And would grow into that role. I see that guy as like a leader on the pitch. He would have been a brilliant signing. I'd rather him than OR. And that's just my opinion. I'd love Maddison as well. I like Maddison as well. But I would be happy with it. Definitely not underrated. Definitely. We're yet to see the best of him. That's my opinion. And unfortunately, he's gone back to Madrid. Rahul says, remember, Robbie, our strikers are already aging, and so is their performance on the pitch. Arteta is making the right move by bringing in Tammy so that he can develop over the course. We need to get back into Europe. We're in a developing thing. We've got a lot of young players. I'm saying with Lacazette, very experienced guy, yes, getting on, not too old. He's turning 30. Has a great partnership with Aubameyang. 2 very experienced players up front. Then you've got Balogun and Martinelli, the 2 youngsters. They're developing. They're coming through. Striker's not a priority right now for me. Midfield for me, that is the problem. And that was what needs to be sorted out. Last year, we didn't supply enough service. Noah again says, Sam Johnson, for me, the perfect backup goalkeeper, both English, which is a big plus, but also only around 10 million. And let's get a few more. Abraham is another Adebayor. Don't want him. Well, listen, if he came in and he was good as Adebayor, I don't, all right, he left. He slid in front of the fans. He ended up at Tottenham, but he was brilliant for a time at Arsenal, Adebayor. So if he came in, he was another Adebayor without all the baggage, it'd be fantastic. He's an Arsenal fan as well. Tammy Abraham. So let's not forget that. Kessa says, glad to see Arsenal thinking long-term and targeting young players to replace aging talent. We still need additional quality in midfield, but Abraham is a step forward. Stay safe, Robbie from Australia. Big up yourself, Kester. And let's get a couple more. Where we got... Andy says, Fraser Forster's just rejected a contract at Southampton. Would be a decent backup. Also, Aziz to get a run out next season. Thoughts? I'd like to see more of Aziz, definitely. Fraser Forster, giant goalkeeper. I remember a couple of seasons ago, we played Southampton. The guy pulled off about 30 brilliant saves in the game. Not that great with the ball at his feet. We know that, Arteta likes a sort of ball-playing goalkeeper. So he's not that sort of, play out from the back goalkeeper. He's more of an old school keeper. But yeah, why not? It wouldn't be a bad backup, It wouldn't be a bad backup at all. Anyway, listen, we've come to the end of the show today. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow with another Transfer Daily. Who knows? Maybe we could be talking about Ben White being announced. And once again, encouraging signs in the preseason yesterday from Arsenal. Love the pressing style that they're playing. I hope that they can carry that forth into the new season. So that was encouraging, but it's only a friendly. We don't get carried away, win or loss. But important couple of weeks to go. Remember, we are the first game in the Premier League. We kick it off against Brentford on Friday, the 13th of August. Let's get those midfield areas sorted out ahead of that game. Thanks for watching the show, and I'll see you tomorrow.